It's the height of the dry season in the Malaysian rainforest. Small, perfectly camouflaged lizards have gathered in the trees to display for mates. Males flash their throat flags to intimidate the weaker lizards, driving them to the outer edges of the tree. The expectant females watch as one by one the losers are faced with a simple choice: fight or flight. Known as flying lizards, their courtship contests are a signal that the short dry season is about to come to an end. This year, they may be wrong. All across Malaysia, the rains are late. A global weather event known as El Niño has brought the longest dry in the country's history. This is the story of a rainforest where the rules have suddenly changed, where the animals and plants of one of the wettest countries on Earth are besieged by more than 3 relentless months without rain. There are parts of Malaysia where the great jungles stretch all the way to the sea. 3 very different ecosystems sit side by side: rainforest, mangrove, and shore. To survive the drought, some animals will need to exploit all 3. A pangolin naps after spending the night clawing termites from a rotten log. The dry conditions force the termites deeper inside, keeping the pangolin up later than it would usually risk. Harassed by flies and exposed by the rising sun, the pangolin ambles off to sleep out the day safe underground. Many young saplings are stressed and dying, sending a shower of crisp, dry leaves onto the forest floor. For a trio of mongoose, the deep carpet of rustling leaves is a strategic disaster. They're stealth predators, stalking through the leaf litter to surprise small prey animals hidden within. The forest floor is normally a spongy mat of fallen debris, but in times of drought, fungi and bacteria are unable to decompose such a load. For the mongoose, it's sheer frustration. For others, salvation. As long as it doesn't move, the horned toad is virtually undetectable to the foraging mongoose. It's a masterpiece of camouflage, a forest floor specialist. But overlooking a meal isn't the greatest threat the mongoose face. Masquerading as the fattest dead leaf on the forest floor, the blood python will lie in ambush like this for weeks. The python has 2 big advantages in the dry: a low metabolism and reptilian patience. A meal the size of a mongoose would sustain the blood python for a month. Foraging in these conditions is a fine balance of finding prey whilst avoiding predators, both real and imagined. A red barking deer, a male, and the sonic overload is making him nervous. Every rustle may be a rival male invading his territory. He stomps to warn the intruder. The confused mongoose sneaks off to search for quieter hunting grounds. For the moment, the horned toad is safe, as long as the streams stay wet. But the rainforest pools are shrinking, and the superheated shallows are becoming depleted of oxygen. Tiny snorkels pierce the surface, a lifeline to those lurking below. Water scorpions. They hang beneath the surface, breathing through their tails, beckoning small fish with a wave of the pincers. The shrinking pools have concentrated the fish and the scorpions. All-in wrestling matches break out over the best fishing spots. While some squabble, others get on with the catch. Exploring with its proboscis, the water scorpion injects digestive fluid to break down the body of the fish. It begins to suck the life from the fish, all the while careful to keep its prize hidden from raiding neighbors. The weeks of drought wear on. Water levels drop so severely that stretches of riverbank become exposed. Rainforest animals are drawn to these open spaces as rare and precious basking spots. The water monitor knows the pulling power of such spaces. It conceals itself in anticipation. A sunny roll on a dry bank is an otter's idea of paradise. He's exposed out here, and he's aware of the dangers. But he can't resist the pleasure. At the end of his dust bath, the otter has one last ritual to perform. He moves closer to the concealed monitor. And dances the otter dung dance. Squirting dung and spreading its scent across the ground, it's the otter's parting declaration that this patch of riverbank is his. At last, the monitor gets what it came for. A long sensual rub in a fresh squirt of otter feces. Even mature trees are beginning to show signs of drought stress. These are dusky langurs, leaf-eating specialists. Their preference is for fresh young shoots, but after months without rain, most new growth has been suspended. The langurs are forced to spend more time feeding on the low-quality leaves. But the animals of this coastal rainforest have one big advantage in this time of drought: a close proximity to mangrove swamp. Flushed twice daily by the ocean tide, the mangroves maintain their fertility despite the extended dry. Long-tailed macaques range out of the forest and into the mangroves. They have a prodigious ability to eat almost anything: leaves, fruit, even flowers. But an uninhabited paradise, this is not. The mangrove swamps are home to some of the most dangerous predators in Malaysia. A mangrove cat snake, and it's going fishing. The cat snake swims effortlessly against the outgoing tide. It's large and highly venomous, but still it pauses to assess the risks. And it's wise to be cautious. The king cobra. As fresh water dwindles in the forests, king cobras travel down to the mangroves. Prey is concentrated here in the dry. The mangroves are the place of the reptiles, and the 4-meter-long king cobra is a reptile-eating specialist. With the king cobra in the water, fish are suddenly off the cat snake's menu. The cobra turns its attention to the maze of mud and prop roots, where the troop of long-tailed macaques waits for the tide to recede. The mangrove floor is an unfamiliar environment for monkeys. They're nervous. By venturing onto the mud, the monkeys enter the domain of predators, like crocodiles and pythons. They've earned an alternative name, crab-eating macaques. Sentries are posted. Tension erupts into squabbles. Mothers with babies stay well clear of the dangers below. But the protein the macaques gain is invaluable. Social bonds ruptured by the tension are soon re-established with a bout of grooming. Replete and intact, the troop lingers to digest their meal in the cool shade on the mangrove roots. In the forest fringing the mangroves, other creatures have created their own shade. On an otherwise healthy palm tree, certain fronds have mysteriously collapsed. Tiny teeth have spent the night nibbling through the radiating veins in a near-perfect circle. The outer edges of the frond flop downward, forming small circular high-rise tents. And the culprits are camped underneath. Tent-making bats. Feeding in the forest by night, they huddle beneath their do-it-yourself tents each day. The tents are multi-purpose, shading the bats, concealing them from predators, even keeping them dry when the rains finally come. Whilst the bats cluster in the shade, others below seek the sun. Even nocturnal snakes, like the reticulated python, need to bask in sunlight from time to time. The snake has fed recently and must raise its body temperature to digest the meal. But even a snake as large as this python needs to be wary on the forest floor by day. At 2.5 meters long, it would make a meal fit for a king. And the king is hungry. It now becomes a test of strength. The strength of the python's coils versus the strength of the cobra's venom. Over 10 long minutes, the life slowly ebbs from the python. The great coils release their grip. Subduing the python was only the first challenge. The second is swallowing it. In the stifling heat of the Malaysian dry, two enormous snakes become one. The longest dry season in the history of Malaysia is washed from the forest. The late rains replenish a maritime fig, one of the few trees to bear fruit despite the drought. It's a chance at last for the macaques to behave like ordinary monkeys again. Even the dusky langurs join the celebration. The extreme El Niño event was not the only factor in this extraordinary drought. Since large-scale forest clearing began in the 1930s, rainfall patterns across Malaysia have changed. Destructive cycles of drought and flood have begun to emerge. Some animals, like the versatile macaques, will surely endure. Others will sadly perish.